couple years ago, we came up with a few examples to walk you through to try to help make that more clear. So say you want to know if using iPads in your classroom will improve your students' grades. You'll compare the grades of students this year who use iPads to the grades of students last year who did not use iPads. The purpose is to try to improve your course next time you teach it. So I'll walk you through the first one. We have human subjects because we have students and we are collecting information from them in the form of their grades. There is a question. You want to know if the use of iPads will improve grades. So you have a question, you're collecting data, and you'll analyze it. But the study is really just designed to improve your course, just the students in your class. So in this case, we would say that the study has not been designed to be generalizable, so it doesn't meet the research definition, so you don't need IRB approval. So let me change this just a little bit for you. Again, want to know if the use of iPads improves students' grades? Now, I'm going to collaborate with other 5th grade teachers at several schools. We'll provide iPads to one of our classes, not the other. And then all the teachers I'm collaborating with will come together and we'll look at the grades of our students. So what do you think about this one? Feel free to talk it out. Do we have human subjects? Yes. Systematic investigation, so research question, collecting data, yeah. Do you think the study's been designed to be generalizable? Yeah, looks like lots of shaking heads, and I agree. Yeah, I do think, because now you've got multiple classes, so it's more likely that the results are going to be generalizable than just looking at one class. So this would need IRB review and approval. Let's try another one. I want to know what my students think about my teaching, my class, a particular assignment. I'm going to give them a survey at the end of the year to get feedback so that I can improve my course next time I teach it. What do you think? I see a lot of no's, and I would agree with that. So it's just an evaluation of my teaching and assignment so that I can try to improve it next time I do it in just my class. Another one, I want to help other teachers by posting web links on a website I create. I want to know if teachers think my website's helpful, so I'm going to ask them to take a survey about it and give me feedback. What do you think about this? I only see a few head shakings. I want to see more head shakings, either direction. Okay, I think I see mostly no's, some undecideds. So I agree, no, this would not need IRB review because we do have human subjects. We're asking other teachers to take a survey, but the study's not designed to be generalizable. When I analyze my data, the results are only going to be applicable to that specific website for improvement. I think I've got one more. I found an activity that I used in my classroom really helped my students. So now I'm wondering if it would help students in other classrooms. So I talked to another teacher about it and she's going to try it in her class. And then we're going to compare results. Yeah, okay. That one looks a little bit easier. I got a lot of yes head shakes, and I agree. So originally when I did it just in my classroom, it was kind of an evaluation to see if I should keep doing it. but then I found out that it did work. So now we're gonna design a study, me and another teacher, and the study is designed to be generalizable because now we're trying it in more locations and more students. So you can see how there are a lot of gray areas. Oh, one more. The school library is thinking about ordering some new books and wants some ideas on what books to order. So I'll survey students about what types of books they like to read and then tell the library. What do you think about that? No? Okay, that's correct as well. So the results of the survey are only going to be used to inform the library, that specific library, and what types of books students at that school might like to have. Alright, so if you design a survey or a study to work with human subjects, you and your advisor might not know if you need IRB review and approval or not. So the IRB created this one-page simple review determination form is what we call it. Everything with the IRB is done online in a system called IRBnet, irbnet.org. That's where we have all of our forms, helpful information, all that stuff. So the review determination form is just your information, a few yes/no questions, doesn't matter if you get them right. What's important is you provide a summary of your project, and then I can administratively give you a formal determination that either it's not research with human subjects or it is. If you get not research with human subjects, it's not a bad thing. It just means that your project does not need IRB review because it does not meet both federal definitions of human subject and research. If it comes back that it is research with human subjects, then you need IRB approval. It is a pretty serious process that you have to have complete full training, which is available online. A complete application is typically the completed application form, your recruiting materials, so how you're going to tell people about your study, consent document, and your data collection tool, survey, interview questions, that kind of stuff. So if you think you're going to go that route and your advisor's not familiar with the process, then make sure you contact my office so we can give you information on how to get a good start on it. And you probably won't be thinking about this process for a while, or at least months, right? So just know that the IRB does have a website. You can find it under the Office of Research Compliance. We'll have like where our office is, emails, contact information. And then like I said, in irbnet.org, that's where we have all of our forms. We have a consent document skeleton that you can use if you need to write a consent document, directions on how to do things. So just know that there's a website out there. You can call us, you can email us. As long as you're, trying to work with your advisor first, then we definitely like to help you out and get through the process.
So, a couple of things about this, a little history. If you had been in cohort 1 or cohort 2, which is like forever ago, everybody in the first couple of cohorts in action had to file all the paperwork and get approval. That was a requirement of the action program. And it became very obvious to us after doing that for a couple of years that our students were spending hours and hours of time for paperwork they really didn't necessarily have to do. And of course, their office was getting inundated with 20 or 30 proposals every year that really they didn't have to be doing. And so we had a lot of discussions about this in terms of, is it really necessary to get approval for the projects? And this is something that you'll need to work out with your advisors individually, because you might remember that last fall, we were first talking about doing a research study in a school, and I said you probably want to avoid doing experimental research. You know, trying one thing with one class and something different with another class, or comparing your results with another school and trying to generalize your results. Because as soon as you walk into that category, you're starting to look at some pretty big paperwork here to make sure that you get the university's permission to do that. Nothing wrong with doing it, but it is definitely another level. What we really are mostly concerned with is getting you doing the action research on a day-to-day basis is to improve your own classroom, to inform you as a teacher, to help you think through more deeply the practices you do in your classroom. And if you're doing that for your own improvement as a teacher, gathering data, writing about and thinking about, then that kind of thing doesn't need approval of the board. If you want to go beyond that and try to generalize it to other populations and say teachers in general ought to be doing this instead of this, then you're looking at a situation where you need permission.
Yes.
I know as an example, I have permission through Dr. Snyder's office for research I do with my 8th graders every year. So you know, I teach a 7th and 8th grade class. In the classes that I teach, my methods and pre-methods classes, from time to time, oftentimes, you see me pull things up on a screen where I say a student answered a problem this way, or I ask a question, here's a video clip of a student responding to it. I have to have permission to do all that stuff. That's a vulnerable population. That's somebody that I can't just go in, you know, the last thing I want is to go to Orlando and give a presentation and click and show a 1-minute video of a student solving a problem and have the parent find out that I'm showing that video 1,000 miles away and they didn't know their child was even being videotaped. You can't do that, okay? So at the beginning of every year, with an agreement that we have, an ongoing yearly evaluation, I have an approval to do that, and I actually have a form that the parents of all of my students sign, and all of my students also have to sign it. So I have a signature, a consent form from both the parent and the student saying it's okay to do that. And basically what they give me is consent to use anything from my class. Something that they wrote in their journal, I could videotape something, audio tape, something that as they responded on a test, I can put that in a presentation, I can put it on in a book that I've written, whatever it happens to be. So a lot of the stuff, even in my writing, comes right from my classroom, but I have to have approval for that. They've got to sign off to say that it's okay to do that. So those are the kind of things when you actually are going to be trying to generalize and put things out there for people, you got to think about getting permission to make that happen. I don't know if our professors that are here, if any of you have any comments, reflections, or suggestions. I know that you've got a little bit of, obviously got some history here with having worked with students before in this area, but anything that you want to add?
Sure. Just to support what you've already said, from an advisor perspective, I greatly appreciate projects that are really looking at something you're intensely focused on and understanding that you're also in the field doing a lot of work. So if you're doing something generalizable, that's like a huge project. And it's not necessarily more meaningful than a smaller project that is non-generalizable. So as an advisor, I like it when somebody can focus their research question well enough that they're getting at something meaningful for their practice, but not necessarily generalizable. That's my preference. So I support the conclusion that if you can make it non-generalizable, that's a good way to go.
That reminds me even of when I was doing my research for my doctorate. Even my advisor of my committee, I remember him telling me, you do not have to build a mountain here. You know, prove to us that you can do research, and then you can build a mountain later in your career. We can talk about whether I ever actually built that mountain. It's never going to happen. But I remember that conversation, and that's where you are. You're trying to learn to do some research in your classroom. Don't feel like you have to build a mountain here. You're just going to demonstrate that you understand how to collect, analyze, and write about the data that you have. Dr. Thompson?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I've worked with action students doing both ways, and as I met with one of my advisees earlier today, I said the same thing to her. Keep in mind when you will be doing this next year in the midst of your methods and student teaching, and yes, we're all gung-ho now, but don't create so much work for yourself that you're trying to slap something together at the last minute and then you do a poor job. If you are going to go the generalizable way, I suggest you get yourself familiar with the HSRB website, go through the training, get your documents and forms ready, and do that early, because that's going to take longer to get that answer back than you want or expect, and you don't want to be held up waiting for that. So just plan ahead if that's the route that you're going to take, would be my suggestion.
Yeah, because there is a process there. You have to know what you're doing, you gotta file the paperwork